Hello students, welcome to our new lesson, and here we are going to practice with you with positive sentences in the present simple tense. Our present simple tense for repeated actions and positive sentences. When we want to say something, I go to work every day, I walk to work every day, this is a positive. We form the present simple tense using the base form of the infinitive, form without the to, and in general in the third person we add s in the third person singular. This is he, she, it. One more time, we need to repeat the structure, take a look on some examples, practice, read examples, and create our own sentences and speak. So, one more time. Structure, subject, verb, infinitive form, and the rest of the sentence. You can use for you different tables. Yes, maybe it was easiest for you to understand from the first lection the table, or maybe from this lection, because we discussed a lot of examples, and right now it's for you to easy to understand. This is the main idea. No, when you try to memorize a lot of grammar rules from the first time when you open the book, it's difficult. The first lesson every time difficult for students because it's a lot of information. To understand the present simple during 60 minutes, it's impossible. It's a lot of information. This is a mess in your head. But when we work like 2 hours with the present simple tense, we have a few video lessons. It's a lot of examples. One more time, you repeat the same structure. One more time, tutor explains what you need to do, what is it. You memorize in this way of repeating, okay? Don't sit and memorize like learn it, and no, repeat and explain to yourself. It's also the one of solution, one of my advices, how can you understand the the tense of English, explain to you. Explain some rules to yourself, write examples, and practice. So, subject, are you with a speak, learn verb without ending. Subject, he, she, it, learns, speaks. So, the spelling of the verb in the third person differs depending on the ending of that verb. Yeah, we were talking about it. So, spellings. When we need to add s to the verb, when we need to put es at the end of the verb, and when we need to put ies at the end of the verb. Yeah? So, the first rule for verbs that end in o, ch, sh, double s, x, that, double that. We add es in the third person, singular, yeah? He, she, it. I go, he, she, it goes, yeah? Catch, catches. I catch, you catch, but he, she, it catches. I wash, you wash, they wash. He, she, it washes. Kiss, I kiss, she kisses. You fix, he fixes. I buzz, you buzz, it buzzes, yeah? So, as you can see, verb ending o, ch, double s, sh, memorize it, repeat. Second, for verbs that end in a consonant plus y, we remove the y and add ies. Marry, marries. Study, studies. Carry, carries. Worry, worries. So we have only 2 rules when we need to change the ending. It's easy. Note, for verbs that end in a vowel plus y, we just add s. Yeah, so this is also common verbs. Play, plays. Enjoy, enjoys. Say, says. Y at the end of the verb before vowel a, o, a, I, e, yeah? So just s. You have only 2 rules that you need to remember of endings in the present simple. And that's all about endings. It's one more time for you. I just wanted to show that you to repeat these rules of endings and understand. It was a lot of examples before, and here that's how the conclusion for endings for verbs in the case when we use subject he, she. See you in the next lection. Hello students, and this is our next lecture. Here we are continue to talk with you about present simple sentences, and in this lesson it will be negative sentences. We discussed with you the structure of the negative sentences, but we need to practice with you and practice a lot of examples. So how to build a negative sentence in the present simple tense. To make a negative sentence in English, we normally use do not or don't or doesn't, does not with all verbs except to be and modal verbs can, might, should, would, shall, will, and so on. So to be it means forms am, is, are. And with am, is, are, we don't need to use our auxiliary verb plus not, do not or does not. Examples: affirmative sentence, you speak French. Negative, you don't speak French. As you can see, you have subject, you have infinitive form of the verb in the positive sentence, but if you want to create a negative sentence, you need to put subject, auxiliary verb plus not, do not, or a short form don't, and after that the main verb of the action, speak. The main verb of the action in the infinitive form. This is the structure that you need to follow and create your sentences. Why do we have a problem with sentences when we want to speak and create our own sentences to build them? We can't use the structure, we don't understand the part of the speech, which part of the speech I need to put in this sentence. This is our problem. So you will see that we add do not between the subject and the verb. This is a rule. We need to put auxiliary verb don't or doesn't between subject and the main verb of the action. We use do not when the subject is I, you, we, they. This is the rule, and we know this rule. We have already learned it. Affirmative, we speak German. Negative, we do not speak German. We don't speak German. First, that you need to remember when to use don't, when subject, I, you, we, they. Where to put don't? Between subject and the main verb of the action. 2 rules, and you can create your own sentences. Doesn't. When the subject is he, she, or it, we add doesn't between the subject and the verb to make a negative sentence. He speaks German. He doesn't speak German. When the subject he, she, it, you need to use auxiliary verb does plus negative word not. Negative word not. Does not, doesn't. Notice that when you create a negative sentence and use auxiliary verb doesn't, you don't need to put s at the end of the main verb. It will be just infinitive form, yeah? So he speaks German, he doesn't speak German. You don't need to put s at the end of the verb speak. Contractions, yeah? Short forms that we need to understand. What is it? Where we have taken it. Do not, this is don't. Does not, this is doesn't. So the same meaning. I do not like meat, I don't like meat. Or the opposite, yeah? There is no differences in meaning. The same meaning, but this is just short form, and we can use these short forms, these contractions for our speech. Next examples. Write all notes, because they are so useful for you. Structure of the negative sentences. One more time. The following in the word order to construct a basic negative sentence in English in the present simple tense using don't or doesn't. One more time. The structure. Right now, you can speak with me and explain the grammar rules by yourself. So, subject, first position, are you with they? Auxiliary verb, do plus not, or the short form don't. Verb of the action, the main verb, infinitive form, have, buy, eat, like, and so on. The rest of the sentence. Subject she, it, auxiliary verb does plus not or doesn't, verb infinitive form, the main verb of the action, the rest of the sentence. In the negative sentence, you don't need to put s or es at the end of the main verb because you have does. This is do plus es, does. One more time. Notes. You don't need to put to before infinitive form of the verb. You need to use verb without to, infinitive form without to. What else do we need to remember? Example. So when you read grammar rules about infinitive form of the verb, to have, to read, to write. But when we put this verb in the sentence, we don't need to use to, because this is the first verb in your sentence. This is the main verb of the action, infinitive form, subject, verb without to. In positive sentences, subject, auxiliary verb, and main verb. Also without to. In negative sentence, you don't need to use to here. Examples of negative sentences with our auxiliary verb. You don't speak Arabic, John doesn't speak Italian, we don't have time for a rest. It doesn't move, they don't want to go to the party, she doesn't like fish. So, first position, subject. Second position, auxiliary verb, depends of the subject. Are you with they? Don't, he, she, it, doesn't. Main verb of the action. You can see different colors, different part of speech. And after the main verb of the action, the rest of the sentence. In the rest of the sentence can be noun, can be adjective, other part of speech. Next, what do we have here? You can write these sentences, you can create your own sentences like examples and practice. Next lesson. So, in the next lesson we are going to continue with you to practice more, to have more examples, to speak with you. Of course, this is our main goal at the end of this course. See you next time, have a great day and stay positive. Hello students, welcome. This is our new lection, and in this lection, as you can see, our preview, questions in the present simple tense. We discussed with you positive sentences, negative sentences in the present simple, and here we are going to talk about questions. So, questions. When we are talking about the structure of some English tense, present simple, for example, in this case, or present continuous or past simple, this is about the structure, the part of the speech, and where we need to put this word, yes, this part of the speech. So, questions. To make a question in English in present simple, we normally use do or does, and this is our auxiliary verb. This is the part of speech. It is normally put at the beginning of the question. It's always put at the beginning of the question. We need to put auxiliary verb at the beginning of the sentence, yes, of the question. So if our structure of the affirmative sentence, this is you speak English, question, you have do auxiliary verb, and you need to put do at the beginning before the subject you. After subject you will be the main verb of the action speak and the rest of the sentence. So do you speak English? Do auxiliary verb, because subject you, when we have subject are, you with they, we need to use auxiliary verb do, speak the main verb of the action, English. Next one, next example, does. Next question, when do we need to use does? What is it does? The same as do. Does, this is our auxiliary verb. This is do plus es at the end. So, one more time. The rule. When do we need to use do? When the subject are, you, we, they, we need to use auxiliary verb do. We speak English, you speak English, I speak English, they speak English. But for questions, we need to put auxiliary verb do. Do we speak French? Do you speak French? Do I speak French? Do they speak French? Auxiliary verb do, because subject are, you, we, they. And after this, we need to discuss when to use does. Does. This is do plus es at the end. And when we have subject he, she, it, we need to use auxiliary verb does. Yes? So, also the rule. Put does at the beginning of the sentence, before the subject. If your affirmative sentence this is he speaks French or she speaks French, in the question you need to take auxiliary verb does, put it before she or he or it, after that the main verb of the action, and the rest part of the sentence. Does he speak French? Does she speak French? Okay, so you have the structure, you have the part of the speech, and you know where to put each part of the speech in your sentence. Positive, negative sentences, or in the questions. Next, what do we need to notice? That ending s at the verb, yeah, so he speaks French, she cleans the room, but in the question, does she clean her room? Does he speak French? We don't have the end s, yeah, at the end of the verb. Ending s at the end of the verb. Because we have does, do plus es. So this ending from the main verb s or es, we need to take and put it for do. In the case of subject he, she, it. That's why you don't have endings in the main verb. Does she clean her room? Clean without s. She cleans her room, but does she clean her room? Clean without s. Because you have auxiliary verb does. Does, this is do plus es. This is your ending here. I will explain everything to you as this. I will repeat a lot of times the same rules, and it will help you to understand all rules, to memorize all rules. This is the way that we want do by ourselves. We can't do it by ourselves, or maybe we don't have enough time to do it by ourselves, but the reason is we don't want to do it, to repeat the same rules. We just read one time, close the book, and go away. And after that, and the next day, we can say, oh, I can't speak English. I don't understand grammar, because you don't have someone around you who can explain you, or repeat and repeat for you 100 times the same rule. And after that, you can feel more better about this rule, about the grammar rules, and all these rules for you will look, I guess, a little bit easier. Not I guess, I'm sure about it. So, next rule, let's come back. We don't use do or does auxiliary verbs in questions that have the verb to be. What does it mean, the verb to be? This is am is are. Or modal verbs. Modal verbs, for example, can, could, must, might, should, would, will. This is modal verbs. This is like the separate part of the verbs in English, and they don't need to have auxiliary verb. They can work by themselves. They can create negative sentences, they can create questions. For example, here, he can speak French. He, subject, can, modal verb. And if I want to create negative sentence, I will say he cannot, can plus not, he cannot speak French. But if I want to say the question and ask someone, can he speak French, I take modal verb can and put it before the subject. So that's why I have this structure. Can he speak French, can, modal verb, he, subject, speak, main verb of the action, and the rest of the sentence. So as you can see, we don't need here do, does. The same with others modal verbs. Must, he must speak French. Must he speak French? The same, you don't need to use any auxiliary verbs here. Let's go forward. You have a lot of free time here. When I explain to you, you can make your notes. Don't waste this time, or maybe pause the lecture, the video, and explain it to yourself, or try to understand if this is the level A1, A2 of English right now, and when you need to understand and not like research the information, understand the meaning of rules of English tenses, because this is your speaking practice. This is the way, this is the door that you need to open and go forward, yes, and start to speak, to go out from your boundaries. So memorize rules, practice, read them a few times. You need to understand not only grammar structure. First of all, grammar structure, the second, meaning of the sentences, because each structure, each tense structure have the meaning. And that's why we have a lot of English tenses, a lot of different structures, because we need to speak in different meanings. We want to show different contexts. That's why we need to have a lot of different structures, parts of speech, and so on. Next, structure of the questions with do and does. The following is the word order to construct a basic question in English using do or does. Yeah, it's like difficult to understand this sentence. What does it mean? So they want to say to us that we have, one more time, auxiliary verb, first position in questions, do, does. Next, subject, this is our word order, yeah? This is our subject, pronoun. Also, we can call it pronoun are, you, they, he, she, it. Verb, the main verb of the action, the first form of the verb, infinitive form of the verb, and after our main verb, it will be the rest part of the sentence. Do I have a new bike? Do you need a new bike? Does she has a new bike? You remember that rule that when we want to use main verb, infinitive form have as a main verb, subjects are, you, they will work with have, subject he, she, it will work with has. So does she has a new bike? Does he want a new bike? This is one more time about grammar structure. Verb, this is also a great example of explanations. That we use infinitive form of the verb, but we don't need to use to with verb. To we put before the verb, for example, when we start the sentence with verb. To go somewhere, something like that. In the context, you can see a lot of these examples. Or maybe when we have the table of verbs, and they also write to, have, to, want, to, go. Examples of verbs. But when we put our verb infinitive form, first form of the verb, in the sentence, we need to make it without to. We need to take to out of this and take only infinitive form of the verb. This is that we need to remember. Yeah, examples: to have, to eat, to go, to live, to speak, etc. This is that we can see this type of verbs with to in some explanations. It's about grammar rules and about tables. But when we put main verb infinitive form in the sentence, it will be every time without to. Examples of negative questions with do and does. Of course, we have positive questions and we have negative questions, because sometimes we can ask in this context the question like, do not you need a dictionary? Don't you need a dictionary? Like, don't you need something? Does not Mary need a dictionary? Doesn't she need a dictionary? Don't we have a meeting now? Don't we have a meeting now? Doesn't it rain a lot in winter? Don't they want to go to the party? Does not he like pizza? So, as you can see, negative questions. First, you start your question with auxiliary verb do or does. After that, the negative word not. After not, subject, you, she, he, we, I, and so on. And after that, the next part of the sentences. Okay. You can also write your negative questions, like 10 examples right now. Make some break for practice. And we continue to talk about rules. So, short answers. Of course, when we have questions, we need to have answers. But can we create short answers? Of course, it can be like yes or no. But do you like chocolate? Our standard positive question, yes, I do. So this is your short answer. Yes, after that subject, after that auxiliary verb do. Because subject I. Does he like chocolate? Yes, he does. Yes, subject he, auxiliary verb does. Or yes, subject she, auxiliary verb does also. Negative answers. No, I do not. Subject, do auxiliary verb or does plus negative word not. So, positive short answer, yes, subject, auxiliary verb do or does. Negative answers, short answers, no, subject, auxiliary verb do or does, plus negative word not. This is what about short answers. Or you can use the standard form of answer, like the long answer, the whole sentence. Do you like chocolate? Yes, I like chocolate so much. I prefer black chocolate, but sometimes I also can eat white chocolate. This is the whole answer. But sometimes it's enough. Yes, I do. That's all. However, so make some note. If a question word, for example, as who, when, where, why, which, or how often, how many, how much, is used in the question, you cannot use the short answers about to respond to the question. So, yeah, when we use, why do we need to use these question words? Because we need to know more details about this person. So, why do you like chocolate? Why do you like chocolate? We can say yes I do, no I don't. Or yes I why, no I why. This is like the wrong structure like at all. I need to explain why. Because I like chocolate because this is sweet and I enjoy to eat a chocolate. For example, this is explanation. How much chocolate do you eat every day? For example, like I eat chocolate once per day or once per week. Explanation, details. We want to know the information. That's why we use question words. So when you use question words, you can't use short answer, just yes I do, no I don't. This is just for standard questions of the general questions. Yeah, do you like, do you need, do she like, do they do, with in present simple questions in the present simple that you can start with the auxiliary verb do or does. In this case, for present simple. For next 10 English tenses we also have short answers, but this is for standard questions without question words before auxiliary verb. And this is the end of this lection. This is the end of questions, grammar explanations, how to create questions in the present simple. So I will see you at the next lection, students. Have a great day, stay positive, bye bye.